Alright, so originally I was going to respond to this video with the animated avatar, but I decided to just don the pea coat and the sunglasses and just get this response video out of the way very quickly. So yeah, so Progressive Voice did a video a few weeks back, a few months back probably, responding to Ben Shapiro about the whole Christian bakers versus gay couples issue. And here he is at it again, and just like in that video, he is also going to pretty much ignore the whole private property part of this whole argument, of this whole issue. But anyway, let's just get right into it right now.
Okay, so I really wanted to take some time and really kind of dedicate some time to this issue because this is the issue. This is the civil rights issue. This is the equality for the people of the LGBT community, you know, gay people. This is the civil rights issue. You know, this is very similar to the, 1964 for
So it's very similar to 1964 for African Americans. So you're going to mention me all these examples of laws and other such examples of gay people being pushed to the back of buses and being segregated away from the straight people in the public classroom, right?
African Americans, as you're going to see, we're going to be talking about. This is extremely important, and this will be huge. This will be a landmark case for sure. And basically, what it is a case is in the Supreme Court right now, basically with Master Shop Bakery or Cake Shop.
Just a side note, when I gone Googling about this story, it was actually Masterpiece Cake Shop that it was called, but whatever. Also, I'm probably going to edit out a good portion of his video and my response to his video because this might go off on a bit of a tangent, both from me and him.
Against this gay couple who was denied service by this cake shop. And it has basically what happened is the state law in Colorado says you cannot discriminate based on gender, sexual orientation, or any of that.
Yeah, and us libertarians think that the law should be changed in that way. And while we're at it, the 1964 Civil Rights Act also says that people are not allowed to deny people service based on race. But as a libertarian, we believe in private property rights, and that includes the right for people to deny service to whomever that they want to. Because nobody owns the product in your business, nobody owns your business except for you yourself, so nobody has a say in what you can do with it except for yourself.
So, it went to state court, and I believe it went to the Supreme Court, and they said, yeah, we're going to fine you because it's against the law, which it was. So now it's made its way up to the Supreme Court because I believe it's Jack Phillips has made the case that it violates his constitutional rights. Alright,
and on that issue, he's going to bring up religious freedom because that is the main argument that conservatives are using surrounding this whole issue, is explicitly the religious freedom aspect of it. And whereas I can kind of agree with conservatives that if somebody is making you disobey your own religion by catering out to somebody else's sin, or at least what you believe to be a sin, well then that is a violation of your own religious freedom. But that aside, I think that conservatives are doing a massive disservice by only focusing on the religious freedom aspect of this. And about me sympathizing with conservatives and how making somebody disobey their own religion is a violation of their religious freedom, that's just my opinion. My legal stance is that everyone should be allowed to deny service to anyone, to deny service to their product, to deny entry to even their own place of business if they want to. Everyone to anyone. This means that a gay person can discriminate against a straight person, that an atheist can discriminate against a Christian, that a black person can discriminate against a white person, and vice versa in all those circumstances.
So, here's the thing, okay, and this is why this is so important. Basically, this case will decide whether or not, literally, and I mean seriously, whether or not businesses...
Okay, a side note here, people, nobody is condoning racism or anti-gay bigotry in the least bit in your own business practices. And if a person is like discriminating against a person's sexuality or their race in their own private business, well then boycott the business. But that's not the point here. The point here is that everybody has a right to deny service because they're the owner of their property. They have private property rights. And basically the government is infringing on those rights by putting in laws of where that a business person cannot discriminate in his own private business of who he wants to serve and who he does not want to. And on the issue of constitutional rights as well, the Fifth Amendment says here, it's a long paragraph by the way, the Fifth Amendment is, so I'm not going to read most of it to you, but going down to the end here where it gets down to private property, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. So obviously there is no private that is actually being taken for public use, like a government wanted to, a local government wanted to set up like a monument in place of your shop or whatever have you, but nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. The thing is, with around the 60s and earlier than that, nobody was breaking any laws or infringing on any rights by denying service to black people or to gay people or to whoever else that they pleased. I mean, the customer has no right to the business person's product until a transaction is successfully made. And so, even though nobody had actually committed a crime, no business owner had actually committed a crime, they still got their property, they were still deprived of their property by the government telling them what and how they are going to do with their property, with their private business. So, no due process of law in this, just the government just made a sweeping law saying that you cannot any longer discriminate. And also, I have to point this out. The 1964 Civil Rights Act, nobody is against the public sector aspects of that law. The government should not discriminate against its citizens. We are all to be viewed equally under the law, but we are not obligated to view each other as private citizens equally.
Can post a sign out on the window saying, no gays allowed, no transgender people allowed, no any of that. Really, and this can extend even further too. And here's something I'm going to be talking about as well, because there are a few defenses that are being made. Now, to my understanding, the main defense is the religious freedom. But this is not, the way that the religious freedom, and I don't know if I've told you guys this, said this, but there has been a very, perversion, a big perversion of the freedom of religion that was, placed in the First Amendment of the Constitution. It was supposed to mean that you can practice whatever religion you want in your homes, in your private place. You can.
It does not say that you can. It does not say that you can practice your religion just in your home or your own private place of worship. The First Amendment of the Constitution says, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. It says, Congress shall make no law prohibiting the free exercise of religion. When you give out this interpretation to the First Amendment progressive voice, that the First Amendment was meant for you to practice your religion in your own home or your own private place of worship. It did not say just in your home or your private place of worship. Got it?
You do whatever you want, because the people came here after, the Church of England and all that shit. So they wanted to make it so that basically everybody can, practice whatever religion they want. They can be a part of whatever religion they want. And that's what it should be. But, as the religious right has become more powerful, Basically, there have been Supreme Court cases saying, there was the Hobby Lobby case where they can deny birth control as part of the health care, and a lot of different things like that.
Oh, it's so horrible. Hobby Lobby gets to pick and choose what benefits they want to offer their employees. What is it any of your damn business, Progressive Voice, on what benefits a business is to give its employees? Those employees have no right at all to said benefits.
Now, so here we have this case that gone to the Supreme Court. Now, it's very cutthroat right now, so it's definitely going to be, most likely anyways, a 5, obviously going to be, it looks like a 5-4 ruling. And which way it's going to flip, we don't know. Now, the key vote in this is going to be Justice Kennedy, Anthony Kennedy. So, it seemed to be going well, and he was very skeptical of the side of Jack Phillips, because he was saying that, is it really speech? And another one of the arguments that I was going to say is that they're making the argument that it's protected under freedom of expression.
And on that note, I have to say that I disagree with that interpretation as well, Progressive Voice. I do not see of how denying somebody your business, denying somebody your private property to them, how that has anything really to do with speech. But are you going to address the private property aspect of this whole issue?
This idea that, cakes are art, and somehow that when you're baking a cake, whatever's on the cake is what you're expressing, that or something. And I thought one of the justices asked the question, saying, if someone makes a cake saying, I'm sorry, are you saying I'm sorry to that person? Because you're not. And that's the key question to ask somebody when they say, oh, it's freedom of expression. Just say, what are you expressing? Is purchasing a cake that they make somehow an approval of someone's marriage? I didn't know that was part of baking a cake, that you have to approve the person's marriage. You're not expressing anything. You're just baking a cake that's...
How is it not an approval of their gay marriage if you're helping to provide services for that marriage? I mean, look at it this way. If there was some psychopath to come into your gun store, say that you own a gun store, and there's some psychopath that came in and saying, hey, I want to buy a gun so I can shoot my family, so I can kill my family, and then you openly sell that gun to that person. Is that an approval of their actions? Well, they certainly are pandering out to those actions, aren't they? It's certainly not a disapproval if you are to sell the gun to the psychopath. In other words, it is an approval. It basically is an approval of the gay marriage if you are to actively, knowingly help in providing for that marriage. Just like somebody would be supporting a psychopath if they came into their gun store saying, hey, I want to buy a gun to kill my family or to kill somebody, and they go and sell the gun.
Eaten, bro. It's really not that deep. And again, then you say, oh, well, it's against...
You're right. It's not that deep. It's very simple. Just like the analogy that I brought up earlier.
Their religious beliefs. It doesn't matter. If it's against your religious beliefs, don't bake cakes, period. You can't discriminate based on our...
It's not against anybody's religion to be baking cakes, guy.
Arbitrary characteristics. So you can't just, basically serve to people who are not gay. And this comes back again to the civil rights.
You cannot basically serve to people who are not gay. You might want to reword what you just said there, Progressive Voice.
Rights, always got to check the people with the civil rights, okay? Civil Rights Act of 1964. Because, recall, the Bible was used to defend slavery. And there's all kinds of racist and all of that type of shit. It tells you how to keep your slaves and all.
Okay, he's throwing a bit of a red herring here. For one thing, Paul said, I think it might have been in Galatians or something like that. I'm going to throw up the verses on the screen where he said, may the yoke of bondage no longer be on you, referring to slavery. And even if somebody was to use the Old Testament to try and justify the ownage of slaves, the thing is, in the Old Covenant, you were not allowed to kidnap people and take them in as your slaves. I mean, the slave trade, it was black people kidnapping other black people to sell them to white people. So in the first place, no one was supposed to have those slaves because those slaves were kidnapped. And the Old Covenant does not justify that. In fact, if you were to kidnap somebody and take them in as your slave, well then you get death. You are to be stoned to death if you do such a thing. So again, no justification for slavery. Or at least not in this context, at least. I mean, yes, there is some justifications of slavery if, like, somebody owes something to another person, like they're indebted or whatnot. But that's aside the point.
Stuff. And this is all religions, by the way. So I'm not just trying to single out the, Christians and Bible, Islam and shit, all that stuff, right? So, and there's a verse in there that says that women can't be teachers. Let's say hypothetically that the baker says, "Oh, your wife is going to be a teacher, and that's against my religion, so I'm not gonna bake you a cake."
Yeah, and by all rights, they should be allowed to. They have the right to deny service based on that reasoning, or whatever else. This ain't that hard.
You shouldn't be able to do that. Bake the damn cake. Bake the damn cake, or shut down and don't have a business that's open to the public. A business that's open to the public should not be discriminating based on, things like gender, race, sexual orientation, etc., etc.
And I could agree with you on that. Businesses should not be discriminating on them bases. But people have the right to do that within their own private property. And say, for example, like we go back to the 1960s as far as people being allowed to, in their private business, not changing anything to the public sector, but in the private sector, people are allowed to discriminate against other people in their private businesses. Say we go back to that, and Walmart started banning black people from entering their shops. I mean, people are probably wondering, oh, where will black people or these other minorities go to buy their groceries or whatever? They'll be so oppressed in that way. And the thing is, wouldn't Target basically be the liberal alternative to Walmart? I mean, they've shown of how liberal they are with of how they had that transgender bathroom policy, so, and we all know that all liberals are never racist, right?
They should not be discriminated. They should not be allowed to, similar to how you can't say, hey, we're not going to serve black people. You can't do that because that is undermining the rights of the citizens of the country. A business that's open to the public should serve everyone, regardless of, those kind of, arbitrary characteristics. But
they're open to the public, but the public does not own them. Get it? The public does not own them and does not own their private business.
Anthony Kennedy was very skeptical of the argument where it came to freedom of expression and speech and was questioning that stuff. But it seemed to take a little bit of a turn because here's what this New York Times article says. They say, later, though, Justice Kennedy said that a state civil rights commission that had ruled against the baker had been, quote, neither tolerant nor respectful of Mr. Phillips' religious beliefs. And as soon as I read this, I said, what? I was just shocked. I'm like, because I was reading it, everything was going good. I was like, okay, he's checking them and all that. Because remember, this is basically going to be the key vote. So once I read this, I'm like, and this is the thing, too. We hear this argument all the time. You can't tolerate intolerance. So,
Yeah, and by all means, don't tolerate intolerance. Issue a boycott. The only thing that you are to tolerate, the only thing that you are to put up with is that these business owners have a right to their private property. I'm starting to sound like a broken record here, but these private business owners have a right within their private property rights to deny service to whoever that they want.
People are able to do whatever they want. I'm sure they respect their religious beliefs in their homes or whatever, but
not just their homes, guy. in their private businesses as well, are they allowed to also practice their religion?
And just think about it, man. Like you're let's say hypothetically you're gay and you go into a bakery and you ask for a cake and they're like, no, we think that you're committing a huge sin and you're gonna be blazing in fire for the rest of eternity. You know, when that type of stuff happens, it's like, it's brutal. And they said they were humiliated. I really feel bad for them. You know,
It's brutal. What's so brutal about it? Is it the part of when that they just merely espouse that they think that they are going to be damned to hell? Is it just because of the fact that they deny service? Brutal? That's not brutal. Just stating that or denying a fucking pastry. You know what is brutal? What's brutal is a gay person in the Middle East being thrown off of the roof of a building by some Islamic thug. What's brutal is some gay person having his face beat in by some Southern Baptist in the Deep South. This ain't brutal. Denying a person a fucking pastry is not brutal. You need to get your fucking head checked, progressive voice, if you really think that that is so brutal. I think you have a very loose definition of brutal, you know that? Just like your asshole.
when you go in and you get denied like that, it's like, wow, like, these people really just denied me a cake because of my sexual orientation. It's really fucked up. And
oh man, I'm sorry. The guy is getting worked up over a first world issue like somebody being denied a cake when they can just easily go to the business on down the road to a different business for a cake.
to think that in the United States of America, supposedly the land of the free,
Yeah, we're not the land of the free when you start taking away people's private property rights and say, no, you cannot discriminate as you please.
This will set a precedent because, like I said, you'll be able to put up signs. Business owners will be able to put up signs saying no gays, no transgenders, etc., etc. You'll go around and be like, holy shit, I thought I was free in this country. You aren't free for shit. Well, first of all, obviously you're not fully free, but it's ridiculous. Just think.
We are certainly not free as well if people are denied the full rights of their own private property, of their own private business.
Think about that. That's like a dystopia almost. Like, it's ridiculous. And
What's more dystopian? People being denied pastries, being allowed the right of their private property to deny business, but the customer can go to a different business, or everybody's business being oppressed by the government because the government does not agree with their own business choices. I think that it's the latter.
we're going backwards. And like I said, this is the fight for gay people's equality. This is the front. This is the fight that we need to win. This Supreme Court case will be extremely key because it will also, and they're already talking about it too. They're talking about the freedom of speech extending to a bunch of other type of people, a bunch of other jobs. So it's
Yeah, let all businesses, all people of all walks of life, of all business, of all beliefs, of all sexualities, of all races, under all businesses, deny service as they please. And if you don't like the fact that the business is denying you service, just go down to the business next door.
So it's extremely, extremely crucial, and it's just really important that you guys know about this, and that's why I really had to tell you guys about that. But it's basically the Solicitor General, Trump's lawyer, is actually defending Jack Phillips in this. I talked to you guys about that when I said that gay people's rights are under attack, and I broke that down to you guys. He said,
Gay people's rights are under attack. How are they under attack in this instance? Do gay people really have the right to somebody else's product? Do they really have a right to a baker's cake? No, they do not. Not until a transaction is fully made. And if the business is one to refuse a transaction completely, that means that the gay person does not have any right at all to that cake.
and again, basing it off of religion, is ridiculous, because if you look at religion,
Yeah, and that's why I say that conservatives are doing a massive disservice by focusing only on the religious aspect. I argue on the private property aspect of this whole issue. And you still have so far not addressed the private property aspect of this whole argument.
it's just wrong. You can't do that because religions are stupid, and that's why it wasn't meant to be like that. It's supposed to be, you can practice whatever religion you want in your private place in your home.
Oh God, do I really have to repeat myself on this
If
point?
you don't want to serve cakes, fine, shut down, get another job, do whatever the fuck you want.
It's not at all that they don't want to serve cakes. If they didn't want to serve cakes in the first place, they wouldn't have opened up the bakery in the first place, and we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. You dunce. What they do want is to be choosy with who that they serve to. Capiche?
But you can't discriminate based on that. You're actually going to get hit with the fine. Similarly to why you can't discriminate against interracial couples, why you can't tell a black person you can't be served here.
Oh yeah, if your business is not doing what I want it to, I will fine you. So says Uncle Sam.
Here's the thing too. He said that, this guy said that he'd be cool with selling anything off the shelves or pre-made cakes. So if you're complicit somehow in making the cake custom, why would you not be complicit in the sale of that cake?
Does it really matter? It doesn't. Let him run his business however he wants to. If he wants to say, you can buy this product, Mr. Gay person, but you cannot buy that product.
Here's something that it was saying. This is what I was trying to get to. It says, at Tuesday's argument, he said a broad ruling for Mr. Phillips could undermine the decision by allowing all sorts of artists, artisans, and professionals to refuse to provide goods and services for same-sex weddings.
That's kind of the point in this whole fight. Now, like I said again, regarding only focusing on the religious freedom aspect of this, the way that conservatives are arguing about this, I think that they're doing a mass service with the way that they are arguing. But it's still towards the same end goal that ultimately economic libertarians want to strive for. And that is that everyone is allowed to discriminate against anyone.
This is a civil rights issue, and we need to fight for this because you can't.
It's not a civil rights issue because guess what? Nobody has a right to a product unless a transaction is made. Nobody has a right to a freaking cake.
Truly be equal if you go around in all these businesses that you see say no gay people, no transgenders, etc., etc. This is the fight for equality, and we need.
You know what would be being viewed equal under the law? Again, is if everyone, no matter what color, race, creed, or religion you are, you're allowed to discriminate against anyone that you want to, no matter what race, color, creed, or religion, or what else have you. That is equality under the law. Yeah, garbage video, low-hanging fruit. You know what? I'm really surprised that a whole bunch of other libertarians haven't really pounced on this. This is a gold mine right here. Progressive Voice is just a gold mine of response videos regarding when he goes diving into economics like this. When he goes basically shutting aside private property rights completely out the window. I mean, I'm really surprised that people like Mr. Dapperton and the rest of the ANCAP crew has not responded to this guy more. I'm surprised that anyone has not responded to this guy even more. Oh well. More response material for me, I guess then, right? But on the whole set of this, again, I don't condone racism, I don't condone bigotry of any kind, but at the same time, I realize that people have the right to be bigots. They have the right to deny service as they want. You know why? Because of their private property rights. You know why they have private property rights? Because they own that said piece of property. And they will forever own it until a transaction is successfully made. Once the person makes a transaction, once the Christian baker sells that cake to the gay couple, that's when the gay couple has the right to that cake. But before then, before a transaction is made, they do not have a right to the Christian baker's business or their cake or any of their other products. Capiche? And on the whole issue of Christian bakers versus gay couples, private property rights is just not brought up enough in this whole issue. All the time, you see liberals and conservatives go at it with each other and only focusing on the religious freedom and bigotry aspect of this and the whole civil rights issue. Really, who doesn't believe in civil rights? But the thing is, people do not have a civil right to a damn pastry. That's all I have to say about this video. Leave a like, a comment. If you like what you see here, subscribe to see more. I'm Zach Edwards, signing out.